You know, we rarely think about all the invisible systems that are working around the clock to keep our homes running. But today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one simple but totally ingenious device, the unseen guardian of your entire plumbing system.
So let me ask you a question. Is your home's water pressure a hidden threat? I know it sounds a little dramatic, but the water coming into your house from the city main, it's often under some serious pressure, way too high for your pipes and appliances to handle safely.
So, here's what we're going to get into. We'll start with the hidden pressure problem. Then we'll meet the little device that solves it. We're going to look inside the valve, see its balancing act in action, and finally, really understand why your plumbing system cares so much about all of this.
Okay, first up, the hidden pressure problem. Why is the pressure so high in the first place? And if it is, how come your faucet doesn't spray like a fire hose?
Well, it really just boils down to physics and geography. Your city's water system has to be super pressurized to get water everywhere it needs to go. I mean, just think about a neighborhood with a lot of hills. It takes a massive amount of force to push water all the way up to that last house on the street.
But that super high pressure that's so necessary for the city, it creates a big problem for our homes. There's this critical number you gotta know, 80 psi, or pounds per square inch. According to the Uniform Plumbing Code, any water pressure coming from the street that's over 80 psi is officially too high. It has to be reduced before it even enters your house.
So how do we fix this? Well, let's meet the hero of our story, the pressure regulator. It's a little device that might be sitting right near your water meter as we speak. Officially, it's called a pressure-reducing valve, or just PRV for short. And its job is simple but absolutely crucial. It takes that high, potentially damaging city water pressure and dials it way down to a safer, more useful level. For perspective, most homes run perfectly fine at around 50 psi.
All right, so we know what it does. But how does this simple-looking valve actually work its magic? Let's take a look inside and check out the mechanics. It all comes down to this really clever and constant dance between three key parts: the diaphragm, the adjusting spring, and something called a poppet valve.
Everything starts with the diaphragm. You can honestly think of it as the heart of the whole regulator. It's this flexible membrane that is constantly sensing the water pressure on the outlet side. That's the side going into your house. And as that pressure changes, the diaphragm moves up and down.
Now, the other two parts have big roles too. The spring that sits on top of the diaphragm is what sets the target pressure. You tighten or loosen its screw to tell the valve what pressure you want. And down below, the poppet valve, well, that's the gatekeeper. It's the part that physically moves to open and close the path for the water.
Okay, let's put it all together and watch this really elegant balancing act in action. This is where the engineering gets pretty darn cool.
The magic really happens at that poppet valve. See, it creates a restricted opening, a little gap. And when that high-pressure water gets forced through this tiny gap, the pressure just naturally drops. One of our sources had a great analogy for this. It's a lot like how a resistor reduces current in an electrical circuit. The valve basically creates a point of controlled resistance for the water.
So what you get is this constant, self-regulating feedback loop. First, the water pressure on your side of the valve pushes up on the diaphragm. That movement then adjusts the poppet valve, which changes the size of the gap. And all of that works together to keep the pressure inside your house totally steady. It's automatic. And the logic here is super straightforward. If the pressure inside your house gets a little too high, the diaphragm pushes the poppet valve to make the gap narrower. That creates more resistance and the pressure drops. If the pressure gets too low, the spring pushes down, the gap gets wider, and the pressure comes right back up. It's just this constant, perfect balancing act. So what happens when you turn a faucet off? Well, the water stops flowing, right? So the pressure on the outlet side starts to rise. The diaphragm senses this instantly, moves up, and pushes that poppet valve completely closed. Now this is so critical. If it didn't shut all the way, that high city pressure would just creep across the valve and blast your home's pipes with its full damaging force. Which brings us to our last section here. Why does your plumbing care so much about all this? I mean, what are the actual real-world benefits of having one of these valves working for you? Well, a PRV does way more than just follow the plumbing code. It's actively protecting your pipes, your faucets, and your appliances from that constant wear and tear of high pressure. It can even help you save water. And at the end of the day, it just creates a more stable and reliable water system for your entire house. Now, look, not every single home has or even needs one of these, but a lot of them do. If you have any questions about your own home's water pressure, or you're just not sure if you even have a PRV, the sources we looked at were all really clear on this. It's always best to contact a plumbing professional. They're the ones who can give you expert advice that's tailored specifically to your house.
So, in the end, it's this simple but totally ingenious device, working silently, day in and day out, just to protect our homes. Which kind of leaves us with one final thought. Your home's plumbing is protected. What other invisible systems, what other unseen guardians are working for you right now?